Hey folks, Mark here. Now, it's no secret that I've been an AI skeptic for the past few years. Now, when I talk about skepticism, I don't mean that I think AI is not useful. There clearly have always been good use cases for large language models and all that. But what I really was skeptical of or doubtful about was all of the hype that this was going to change the entire world. And I didn't think that that was the case. I mean, because when I was looking at AI models that existed a year ago, it felt like it was mostly just chatbots and that they were very prone to hallucinations and just giving you a lot of slop that wasn't very useful. I'm surprised to say that my opinion on this has changed pretty dramatically in really the last couple of weeks. I've been introduced to a tool called Claude Cowork, which is pretty different from how I've used AI models in the past. So typically when I've worked with AI models up to this point, and they were somewhat useful for writing, they're kind of just chatbots that you interact with and they can give you text and they can do search and that kind of thing. But what's different about this new tool that Claude or Anthropic has come out with is that it runs locally on your computer and it can work with the files on your computer as well as access things on your accounts online to help you do basically whatever you want. And it can get super complicated because the thing that you're interacting with isn't just a chatbot. It's primarily focused on doing tasks, and it can assign a set of tasks to other AI agents that will go and do things for it. So it's not as limited by the memory window that these models have. And so you can make it do some things that are actually really useful and save yourself a lot of time. To give you an example, I was playing around with Cowork today, and I had a folder that had about 500 different scientific papers in it, and they were all PDF formatted files. And it was just a mess, just 500 files just in a folder with no labeling, no organization, nothing. And so I thought this would be a good chance to test it out. So I asked Claude to go in, look through all of the files, all the PDFs, read them, sort them by topic area, the ones for bone health, the ones for immunology, the ones for agriculture, put them in their own folders, and then to rename all the files based on the person who wrote them, the author's name, and then the year it was published. And it did that. I mean, that's something that I probably would have just never done on my own because it would have taken so long. You know, it would have taken me or an intern probably a full day's worth of work to do that. And that would be really time intensive and costly. But, you know, for the price of a $20 subscription, Claude did it in a few minutes, right? And that's just one example that I was able to do. Now that seems kind of trivial, but it can do a lot of other things too. To give you another example, in my day job, I do a lot of answering questions from customers and from doctors about our products and our science. And oftentimes the questions that come in are sort of different flavors of the same questions. People kind of want to know the same things, but they want a tailored answer to what they're asking. And so what I had Claude Cowork do was read through my emails to find all those exchanges, together with some documents that I gave it of things that I've written in the past, and have it put together an FAQ based on that for answering those questions. And then ultimately what I aim to do is automate that so that later on I can give it the questions and it can give me the answers. But what was really cool about it was the piece of it searching my email and doing that automatically. I didn't have to do much other than link it up to the email. And it's kind of eerie to see your computer on its own doing searches in your email and pulling up information and taking screenshots. But I think at the end of the day, it's really useful. And I've been doing some reading online about the different kinds of use cases that people have. And it seems like the complexity can just get so high that we'll be able to automate things that previously were very time intensive or that we just wouldn't do because they were too laborious. I think about data analysis, and for years I've been doing data analysis in a programmatic way where I use Python scripts and data frames to, you know, slice and dice data, visualize it, look at it in different ways. That's still good, but in theory, you don't even need to spend the years that I've spent learning how to code and getting familiar with those tools. You could just have Cowork do that for you now in plain language, which is insane. It really, overnight for me, my opinion on AI models and the impact that they could potentially have in our lives or in business has changed entirely. And I really do now think that as these models continue to get better, as the tools get more integrated into various systems that we have, the sky is going to be the limit for how we will be able to automate the kind of work we do day to day. Now, all that being said, I still have some reservations. First, it's outside the realm of what the models can do. I think the economics of these AI companies, especially OpenAI, they don't make any sense at all. And I think that there's some economic and financial things that are going to hit us as a society because of that. There's also the environmental impacts, but related to the software itself, my biggest concern is about security. Now, these things can exist in a limited way that you can restrict it to say, okay, you can only work inside of this folder, and you've got to ask me for permission every time you create something or every time you change something. And if you do that, I think that the risk is very low. I think that it's pretty limited what it can do, but that also limits its functionality. So once you start connecting it to more systems, you start giving it access to the internet to do searching for you and access to your accounts, maybe your email, your calendar. As that gets more complex, the things that it can do gets more expansive, but so do the number of ways it could potentially be exploited. And my concern is that this is evolving so fast and the software is changing so fast that we may not be able to keep up, or that we'll go faster than we can keep up from a security standpoint, and then bad things will happen. The other way to think about it is these models can potentially be used for doing lots of good, but I think that also means they can be used for evil. You could imagine someone using these kinds of tools to automate really sophisticated social engineering campaigns. For example, I've heard about phishing emails that not only simulate a person or impersonate someone that you may know, but that provide a history of fake email exchanges between various people that say people in your company, that make something look very legitimate and can fool you. And these kinds of tools could automate doing that very fast and doing it at scale. So I think we're going to need guardrails around what tools like this are going to be allowed, that we as a society allow them to do and to not do. Because people are worried about Skynet, these things becoming conscious and trying to kill us all. And maybe that could happen eventually. I'm not really worried about that right now. What I am worried about is people who are bad actors who will take advantage of this technology. They already do this in every way that they can. And I see so many opportunities for bad actors to get a hold of this technology, to leverage it at incredible scale, to put scams out there. And it's going to be really difficult for us to keep up with that and to make sure that we are keeping our data and our companies and our personal lives secure. So just to close, I'm really excited about what these tools mean in terms of our ability to automate work and to really work at a scale that we've never done before, to get things done in ways that don't require us to invest many years of learning skills. That person that I'm working with on this compared it to when Neo gets jacked into the Matrix and learns Kung Fu just by downloading it. I mean, it's starting to become, although you don't actually learn Kung Fu yourself, the ability to do these things without you having to learn it is becoming more of a reality. So it's super exciting, but I still have some concerns. I think that it's going to take a while for us to catch up in terms of security, cybersecurity, let alone policy. Congress moves so slow. There's no way they're going to be able to keep up with things that are changing by the day or by the week. That being said, I'm really excited about the potential for what these tools can do. And I intend to stay up to date on this and try to, really take the most advantage of it to be an advocate for how AI can be used for good and not for evil. If you found this informative, please leave a like, subscribe, and drop a comment. What do you think about all of these new tools, about how fast things are changing? Is this good or bad? What does this portend for us as a society? Let me know in the comments, and I'll make sure to get back to you on that. With that, have a great night and take care.